You've got to really understand that it's all about timing. It's trying to build a business to exit with a high EBITDA to get a high multiple return on your business.
Welcome to the investment season of How to Start Up, a podcast for anyone starting or scaling a company. Hosted by me, Juliet Fallowfield, founder of B Corp certified PR, communications and podcasting consultancy, Fallowfield & Mason, where we teach you how to own your PR in-house. So once you've secured investment and used it to build and scale a profitable business, the time might be right to exit. However, when is the right time to sell your business? In this episode of How to Start Up, I speak to Asher Moses, founder and CEO of Sherbet London, the capital's leading electric taxi company. As a serial entrepreneur, Asher grew his original small fleet of London taxis into one of London's leading transport companies. Now through Sherbet, Asher is future-proofing the iconic London black taxi for future generations. And as a Londoner, I'm thrilled to learn about this. Asher shares his advice on what to consider before exiting a venture and when he feels it's right to consider selling up. Thanks, Asher, for your time today. It's great to have you on How to Start Up. It would be wonderful if you could give us a brief introduction as to who you are and a bit about the businesses that you've started.
Sure. I'm a licensed London cab driver. I did the knowledge and became a licensed London taxi driver. And London was a very opulent city in those days. And taxis were the main form of transport for the white collar and blue collar workers. And I've always innovated within taxis. I started my own fleet of taxis and rented the taxis to drivers. I introduced advertising because advertising was restricted in central London. So advertising would target an ABC1 audience in central London. And I innovated many different projects for licensed London taxis until I exited from taxi media.
When did you buy and when did you sell?
So I bought it in 2009 and sold it in 2011, just before the Olympic period.
That's a quick exit. Do you think that's a quick buy and sell? Is that normal?
Not really. I innovated and introduced a product like credit cards wasn't in taxis at the time. So I had a company called TaxiLink, which allowed taxi drivers to take credit cards. And the company that bought my media company was a strategic buy because they were a credit card and wanted to come into the fintech play. So we made it accessible for them.
Just to recap, how many companies have you bought and sold to date?
I've bought about 4 companies and sold about 4 companies.
Amazing. This episode, we'd love to learn more about when's the right time to exit a business, how to exit a business, any advice that you give to founders who are starting and scaling a business on exiting. I'd love to ask you, what do you think are the biggest mistakes founders make when considering exiting a business?
I think you've got to really understand that it's all about timing. It's trying to build a business to exit with a high EBITDA to get a high multiple return on your business. It's also important to think about how you position your business, because if you're an operating company, you get an X kind of multiple on your EBITDA. If you're a tech company, you would then get a different type of multiple in the tens rather than the single digits. And today, traditional businesses are struggling between, hey, we're traditional, but we need tech and data. So how do we become a tech and data company if you're an operations company? And that's what we've been struggling with. And we're working through to finding solutions to try and find a balance between tech companies and operational. Because every technology company needs a good operator.
Yes, exactly. And I think it's good for listeners to know that as much as you bought and sold taxi media in 2011, you're now founder of Sherbet. So would you like to tell us a little bit about Sherbet?
So Sherbet is interesting. So when I sold to taxi media, it was nice to have an exit. When I sold to VeriFone, it was absolutely brilliant to have an exit. It was a great feeling as an entrepreneur after all those years to go into an ATM and see that exit. I then realized at the same time, Addison Lee sold out for £300 million. And I said, well, if he can do it, I certainly can do it. And I came back and realized that we live in a brand awareness world where people don't call taxis anymore. They call brands with values. And this is where we created a brand with a great marketeer who helped us create a brand that can compete and outcompete with all the brands that are coming in to the taxi transport world. And we created Sherbet is Cockney rhyming slang for Sherbet Dab, which is cab.
Oh, I get
Yeah.
it. Makes perfect sense.
And it relates to the taxi drivers. Now, today, people have a choice to book a low-cost app like an Uber or a premium app like a Sherbet. And that's what we've created. We're differentiating ourselves to be the best in clean, green transport and using technology and data to build our business and innovate.
And given you've had successful exits in the past, what does it mean to you having exited a business? Because I feel like I'm 3.5 years into my business and someone said, what are you trying to do with it? Are you going to sell it? Are you a lifestyle company? I was like, I've just started. I haven't got that far yet. But I know a lot of people go in with a very strong plan and idea of what they want to do with it. But for you now, having left that business behind you, what does it mean? What did it give you when you sold, other than financial?
Financial freedom is absolutely great because it clears your head and gives you a clean slate to rethink, re-strategize, and do what you really do well. Because by the time you've exited, you've realized you've exited because you've done something really well. Now you need to build on that and then think about the bits that were missing in the first exit that you can make it better. Like now for me, I ran a fleet of taxis and exited and sold it. I introduced advertising and introduced it and sold it. Today, Sherbet, we're future-proofing licensed London taxis, and we're future-proofing it with technology and data. So you've got a traditional business with multiple revenue streams. You can ride in a Sherbet, drivers can rent a Sherbet, advertisers can advertise on the Sherbet, and all of this is thinking, what can I do better? And the technology part is telematics. We brought in longitude, latitude, time, date, location. That allows accident data. When you bring in pollution sensors, you can pick up pollution data. So suddenly you become part of the city needs. For example, today you need smart taxis for smart cities. So our taxis are really smart and can help smart cities.
So for you, it was really building, growing and selling when it was right for that business and then taking your learnings. Was there ever a question that you would just stop working and just go, I've done that? I feel like I've discovered this theme quite a lot with people I know who are self-employed, that you're tenacious and ambitious and very forward thinking. You can't just sit still. So when you sell, it's very likely that you're going to just go off and do something else. But for you, did it give you validation or a sense of satisfaction? Or was it scary when you suddenly had no business to run? Or were you already on to the next?
Yeah, you're already on to the next the minute you got a bite. If you're an entrepreneur, you know, if you've done it once, you certainly want to do it again. You want to do it bigger. It's not about the money. It's about you've suddenly built confidence. You've gained credibility. It's a big word, exit. It's a credible word. And you need to be able to aim for your next one, which would be at least double the size you did the first one. But it's not easy. It's a dream.
What is it with entrepreneurs who want to just double down on the pressure and the stress and the angst? But it's addictive, isn't it?
It's addictive, but we want to solve the problems. We know all the problems.
You want to find new ones.
Yeah.
What should founders consider before making that decision to exit? Are there some key things that they should really sit down and think about before going after an exit?
First of all, if you've got an opportunity to exit, my words, I'll take it, right? Don't be worrying about too much what I could get, what I may get, because they don't come along very often, the offers. If it's in front of you, aim for goal and take the word exit. And then rebuild yourself. Now, try and be part of the growth of the exit. So maybe there's a way where you can be part, you sell a majority or minority, depends, but be part of a bigger plan. Try and be part of a growth plan, okay, with them, because you can contribute. If you're the one who's exiting, you've obviously got some skill to contribute to your new proprietors or owners' plan.
But how does that work? Because for me, the biggest joy of being self-employed is that I have freedom and autonomy to be nimble and make decisions and recruit people that I love and work with clients that I admire. If I'm selling the business and I'm still part of it, have I not just given myself another boss? that I might not like that much?
Most of the time, it's for a very short period. They buy a business with you. Most people buy the entrepreneur rather than the business. So they do
Yeah.
want your skills. They like the profit line and the numbers and the turnovers and the clients, but it's really you that they're buying, in my view. And if you can help deliver their goal, because you're going to be there for a couple of years, so try and deliver their goal. And at the same time, you're building your future dreams, your future goals, because your mind is clear from financial worry, because entrepreneurs' financial worry can hit very critical points.
Yeah. And in terms of that sort of mental load of going from being the boss to having people to answer to, are there any pieces of advice you'd like to offer someone of how to manage that?
Yeah, I've learned really well, because coming from driving a taxi without spreadsheets, without education, to get into boardrooms and to try and understand CRMs and tech, etc. So yeah, the first time I entered into a corporate, it was absolutely the most challenging thing of my life. I never had a boss in my life, but I did making coffee, and I said I'll do it once. But the point was, I found it very difficult. But learn from the corporates if you learn, because my business today is heading towards a corporate with all the skills that I said, nah, I'll never do, is implemented into my current business for scale and growth. Learn from it, don't fight it.
So it's not a partnership in the actual definition of the word, but from a mental stimulation perspective, you ideally would want to exit with someone that you would learn from through your exit years that you can take onto your next business.
Sure, it'll be nice if that's part of the journey, yeah.
Would you be able to say top 3 benefits and drawbacks to a founder retaining a minority stake in their company?
The benefits is you're selling a majority stake, so you should get some financial piece, but you would lose control of your vision, okay? It's very hard to keep control, and I think that's a big problem, because if it's your baby, first of all, businesses shouldn't be a baby. We need to separate it. We must take the emotion out.
Someone said to me, oh, you're self-employed. It's no, I'm employed. It's just by a business that I happen to have started. And I found when someone said that to me, it was really interesting, because it gave me peace of mind that I'm part of a team and we're all in it together and we work for this company. And it feels like the company is bigger than me, which is very comforting in a weird way. So yes, that separation of it's not you. But then going back to the fact that they are buying the founder, that's a tricky one, isn't it? Because how much of you do you allow them to have?
So that's very important. Pre-selling your business is to ensure your business can run not only with an entrepreneur. It needs to be run, and you need to have built a team that's solid around you, that you can literally run your business whilst you're away on holiday. And that will give confidence to investors to say, wow, you've got a tremendous team. I don't really need the entrepreneur. It'll be great to get his skills and vision. That's what I'm buying. But it's his team who are really going to help the new investors take the business forward.
Especially in service-based businesses, because you need that proof of longevity that it can run without you, especially if you're exiting. When you have a minority stake in the business that you have exited or exiting, what would be the sort of negative to that, still being involved, other than control of the vision?
It's very disheartening seeing a vision being diluted and not being achieved, because as an entrepreneur, I have sniper vision. I'm in the hairline. I don't want nothing around it. I'm not interested. And I don't want new ideas. I want to get to goal, right? That's an entrepreneur's vision. Get to the goal, and get to the goal by core business and not dilution, popcorn ideas. Now, over the last 18 months, I've learned a bit late in my life to stay laser focused on operations and profitability. To me, the two most important words, I'm hitting 60 now, but the two most important words are pennies and time, right? Don't spend your time and count your pennies right now to achieve your business goal. Don't waste your time talking to the wrong people in hope. And if you can do that 30 years at the age of 30 and not find out at the age of 60, those are the two most important factors.
Oh, goodness. Time is more precious, I feel, than revenue when you're in startup phase. And it's a limiting factor. The money will flow and it'll come and go. And it could be exponentially exciting. But time, there are only 24 hours in the day, and I have a real issue with that. I want more. That's a conversation for another day, is how to find more time in your day.
But success comes with that time. As entrepreneurs, to succeed, you need to put 80 hours in the first year, 80 hours a week. The second year, 70 hours. The third year, 60 hours. The fourth year, 50 hours. And then you delegate and work on the business, not in the business. And that's the key factor. And you're ahead of your competition.
Yeah. And I presume when you're looking at people buying you out, that bolsters the business and makes it a stronger option for them when you've built it then in that way. And you're exiting before you're exiting in terms of your commitment to it. God, that sounds great. Sleep. This is amazing. Can founders typically maintain a paid position like a CEO role while selling their shareholding?
I have seen in many a time companies get bought out. The CEO stays with the company. There's a big difference between CEO and entrepreneur with a visionary. A CEO can operate the business, but you do get diluted once you dilute your shares. You have to be prepared. And it's a real emotional thing because we all carry that. Even though we try and say, think with your head, not with your heart. But in business, it does get emotional when you're on a journey, you've sold a lump of that business, and it's being diluted outside your hairline sniper vision into the periphery of that sniper scope. It's just diluting your time from staying focused on core business.
Yeah. And I guess it's what you want out of it, isn't it? You've got to think long and hard of like, why am I doing this? And for me, starting business, why am I doing this? If I was going to exit, why would I be doing it? And what's it going to bring me in my bandwidth, my time, my attention, and in my job satisfaction as well? It could be a point. There's a few friends that are selling their businesses saying, it's great, I get to go back to having a normal job. And I was like, hang on a minute, what to define normal? But for them, it's that peace of mind of I can put my phone in a drawer while I'm on holiday because somebody else is doing that scary bit that I'm no longer responsible for. But being at peace with that. And was it hard for you to step away? Because you're always going to care.
Well, yes, it's hard to step away. But if you've got somebody who's taken the majority share, you can give your advice and give your love and give your care and give your support. But if they don't want to take it because of there's certain rules or regulations, and markets work differently. It's hard for a suit to talk to a cab driver, right?
Yeah.
So it's important to try and find a fit. Is the fit for a short time? Then the 2 years that you have to be with as a majority shareholder, minority shareholder, give your best, give your support, give your advice. But if they're not doing it, just to do your time and move on. But it's a very difficult process to step back and phase out. It's not easy seeing this beautiful store and this vision suddenly dilute into part of somebody else's vision. But you've been paid for it. Smile and look forward to the next chapter of your journey. It's part of the journey to win, to lose, it's part of an entrepreneur's journey, and accept all of it. It's not going to be all one way. It's consistently up and down.
Every single guest. There's two pieces of consistent advice that every guest has given is get a good accountant and be okay with a roller coaster. And I laugh going, I'm not okay with a roller coaster, but I accept it. And I appreciate that is very much part of this freedom and autonomy that I've afforded myself in starting a business, but it doesn't mean I'm at peace with it all the time. Actually, looking at the offer, what would be some common mistakes founders might make when negotiating that exit?
I think most founders are emotional and look at unrealistic valuations, where we've got emotional valuations. And we've got to realize that the person looking at that valuation and your proposal that you think is the greatest idea and everybody thinks it's the greatest idea, the person looking at that is looking at the numbers, binary and cold. And if you set your plan to present it binary and cold, you're better off then, because you need to present it in a language that they understand. And emotion is something, they're like passion, which is an emotion, but an emotional about how brilliant your business is, the fluff doesn't work. It's the numbers and the markets and the research, and it's very cold place, and they're not your friends. And you need to think it that way. Even though they're going to invest 10 million pounds in you, 100, they are not your friends. They are binary,
it's business,
and they're looking for profit. Yeah.
It's so interesting because in my day job in our business, we teach founders how to do their own PR, and we say they are their own best storyteller, and that passion and understanding of their business needs to be articulated succinctly. But the emotion part of it can help with that selling around the brand or the business or why it exists. But you need to back it up with the numbers. And I think a lot of founders that we've met have been fantastic skincare developers, but they are not across their numbers. And actually, when you are a small business or a startup, you are probably 80% in your sales role and 10%, 20% in your finance role. And very tiny percent is actually creating the skincare product potentially. And I think a lot of people don't appreciate that. So, oh, great, you're self-employed, you've got unlimited annual leave and you can work anywhere in the world and I need to be across my numbers. And for me, for peace of mind, it's knowing our P&L at any given point, because it's a business first and foremost. And without numbers, without revenue, without cash flow, there is no business. And what is it? There's 80% of new businesses fail. It's not because the idea isn't good. It's because they don't have any cash flow. So we've talked in other episodes previous about getting financial advice, having people help teach you how to run your P&L, but you do need to take that responsibility for being across your numbers, especially when you're coming to exit. And that's so interesting what you said about take the emotion out of it, because you'll have that emotional perception and value attributed to your business that no one else will understand because it's your business, not theirs. And that doesn't have a value to them. So yeah, thank you for that.
Value, there's a formula to value. They look at it through numbers, and there's formulas, X amount, X multiples. They exist. And you need to look at them and learn about exit before presenting. What does it mean to exit? What are those numbers? And how do the investors look at you? How are they looking at you? Don't think what you're giving them. Think you're the investor. And it's all on YouTube, by the way. Everything you want to learn, spend an hour at night on YouTube.
And in terms of timing, what gave you that? Is it a gut feeling, or was it looking at a spreadsheet feeling of now is the time to exit? Or was it because you were being approached? How do you know when it's the right time to exit?
You never know. I think you need to you should say, look, wouldn't it be great if I could build a business that I could exit for X million of pounds in 5 years? I think that's the opening phrase of an entrepreneur. It doesn't matter what the business is, because we all do different things. It's the opening words. What could I do to exit in 5 years? And I want X amount of millions of pounds, right? From there, I would look at my skills and build your skills to achieve your exit number. That's the way I built Sherbet. Put the number on the board, then built my skills. What did I do best? And now I'm aiming for, please God, it's a super exit with Sherbet one day. Yeah, so that's the way I would focus on doing it.
Timing the other way round, once you've decided to go for it and you have an investor giving you an offer, did they put a time pressure and a deadline on you?
I think you should try and work for an exclusivity period. They're very tiresome, cumbersome processes, and the demands are huge. I need this, I need that, I need this. And each answer has got to be thought through meticulously, and we've got to look through the numbers before you can't just say, here it is. Think it through, think through the questions, only deliver the answers that relate to the questions with zero fluff, zero emotion, because they're not interested. It's about why is it happening? And it's happening because of this. What is this? And here's the answer. And don't
it sounds exactly like talking to a journalist when they ask a question. Just give them what they've asked for. That's all they need. And be clear.
Yep.
Yeah.
No more.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Less is more.
Always, apart from time in the day, more would be more. And is there any other golden nugget piece of advice that you'd like to offer a founder thinking about selling their business?
Well, I think it's important to, if you're thinking about selling your business, think about who you want to sell it to, because it's not like you've got a business that somebody's wanting. So you're thinking of selling a business. Think about, where's the audience? Who are they? Do they exist? Have they bought a business before? Because if you can't see who you want to sell to, then you haven't got a journey. You need an endpoint. The investors will say to you, in 5 years' time, we invest in you. Who are you going to sell your business to? You need to have that answer. And you need to say, I will sell this business to this company, that company, because of they have bought this at this multiple. So live your business, eat your business, be a part of your business, thrive on it, live well from it. But you need to put the hours, and entrepreneurs learn the hours. It looks great from the outside. They see you as an iceberg, all great above water, but below water, they don't see the sleepless nights. They don't see the bills and the PAYE and the rent. So it looks good on the top.
Well, like the swan analogy, isn't it? And when I worked at Chanel, it was very much, it's that you're absolutely perfect on the surface and underneath you're pedaling furiously to get everything done.
Absolutely.
And I've made a real hash of my Instagram because I can work remotely and I can travel with my work. As long as I have internet, I'm fine. So slow travel for me is fantastic. I'll go and live somewhere for a couple of months and work. And I was like, you're always on holiday. I'm like, are you joking? I've been on Zoom at 3:00 in the morning. So the time difference, but I think Instagram can lie. So I need to stop posting basically. It's funny on the outside what people kind of assume. And a lot of people are like, you're doing so well. It's like, no one else sees the P&L. What does well look like to you? So I think for me, defining what success looks like has been really important. Thank you, Asher. It's been so interesting to chat to you, and huge congratulations on everything you've achieved. I was going to say so far, because I know there's more to come. So very exciting. And I see Sherbet everywhere in London, and it makes me smile. And I love the fact that you're protecting black taxis, because I heard a few years ago when the Hackney Taxi School shut down because of Uber and rideshare and everything like that, you're protecting our iconic London cab. So thank you from a fellow Londoner.
We're future-proofing it, and it's got to be replicated around the world.
So Michelle from Peanut wanted to ask you, what has been the worst day in your office so far?
I will never, ever forget my worst day in the office. It's the day of declaration of lockdown in London. London shut down, and Sherbet, from being the fastest leading growing taxi fleet, where I finally reached the top of the hill, where I had 700 taxis paid, unencumbered, all with advertising, all working really, really well. Suddenly London stopped and the city and West End was empty. The drivers, I had 700 drivers, 700 families. I had all my staff. The drivers started to bring 700 taxis to my house, blocking the roads because there was nowhere to put them. And I had to think on my feet. I had to digest everything that's going on. I had to think about staff, people, family, furlough. I was in the middle of moving the house at the same time. It was absolute nightmare and fear. And I had COVID. And I even remember that being ill and in a panic, and there's so much fear of lockdown. But then we went further and we started to build back and hope for positivity. But how would you believe we went to get our taxis out after COVID, and we put our keys into the ignition, and we've had 700 taxis with catalytic converters cut out. So causing £700,000 worth of damage. In other words, I had to start my life again without a bean. Unbelievable.
Thank you so much for your time. It's been lovely to meet you, and thank you so much.
My pleasure. I wish you all luck. Good luck.
If you'd like to contact Asher, you can find all of his details in the show notes, along with a recap of the advice that he has so kindly shared. If you enjoy this podcast, I'd be so appreciative if you were to rate, review and subscribe, as it will really help other people starting a company discover it.